Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us in either person or virtually this morning at our Commercial Reach Code Review Public Meeting. The main purpose of this meeting is to present the division's proposed Commercial Reach Code and to gather any thoughts or feedback that folks in attendance may have. Before we get started with that, though, I'd like to give a brief overview of how we got here. The REACH code is an optional above-code compliance path focused on energy efficiency. It is separate from the building code and is not required to go through the same adoption process that the building code does. The division has a lot of discretion in the adoption of the REACH code, but having opportunity for public input during the process is important to us. To that end, the Commercial Reach Code process kicked off with a period specifically for gathering public proposals of items to be included in the Commercial Reach Code. That period was open from January 10th to February 27th. The division received a number of proposals during that period. The division reviewed those proposals and then presented them to the Oregon Department of Energy and an energy efficiency stakeholder group on March 15th, 2022. After that presentation, the division developed a proposed Commercial Reach Code, which Mark Heizer will be talking about in more detail here in a minute. As I said up top, our goal today is to hear any feedback that you all have on the division's proposed Commercial Reach Code. If you're in the room here and you plan on speaking, please take a minute to sign up on the testimony registration sign-up sheet right near the door at that podium there. I'm going to turn it over to Mark here so that he can talk in more detail about the division's proposed Commercial Reach Code, and then after he's done, I'll talk for a minute on the structure of the meeting before I turn it over to you all for testimony.
Thank you, Andy. For the record, Mark Heizer, Energy and Mechanical Engineer with the State of Oregon Building Codes Division, here to discuss the proposed statewide Oregon Commercial Reach Code, our 2022 edition. There were, for the most part, 3 energy-related section or proposals that came in, which also included primarily the use of the, or a similar proposal to the Massachusetts stretch code, one proposal for use of a modified ASHRAE standard 189.1, also known as the International Green Construction Code. That's what it's published under. And also a group of proposals using portions of what will be in ASHRAE 90.1 2022 and some other addenda. The division will be, the publication of ASHRAE 90.1 2022 will be this fall, and we will be restarting our baseline energy code process. So for speed and ease of adoption, we did go with using the proposal for a version, Oregon modified version of the Massachusetts stretch code, using, of course, ASHRAE standard 90.1 2019 as the baseline and going at least 10% above that code. We do have, if available, we could present the, if need be, we've done some minor modifications of the Massachusetts stretch code to bring in a few additional building types a little earlier from size of square footage, also to, but to align for the most part, and also use of the both performance energy modeling methods within the current 90.1 2019 methodology, both Chapter 11 energy cost budget method and also the use of Appendix G, which is the baseline for the Massachusetts version. And also, since we do have the use of data centers, we do have a modification of the use of ASHRAE standard 90.4, excuse me, and I am noting that we had a typo in there of 90.4 2019. So, well, the use of our code, but as the use of 90.4. With that, we'd like to see, I guess, open up on public comment at this point, so I'm going to turn it back over to Andy. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. We're going to start the public testimony now. Our plan is to start with initial testimony, and then in the interest of time, we're going to ask that you limit your testimony to 5 minutes. We'll start with anyone that has signed up here in the room. If you are signed up virtually and want to testify, please use the raise hand function and also indicate that in the chat. It is a little harder with the virtual audience to make sure that we're going in the order of those that signed up, but we'll do our best. If you have specific questions to clarify how the proposed code will work so that you can accurately testify in the proposed code, please state those questions up front in your testimony, and we'll try and answer them. But to maximize the time for everyone's testimony, we aren't going to be answering larger questions about why certain aspects were included or not included in the proposed commercial reach code. Once we get through everyone that signed up to speak both in the room and virtually, if we still have time, we'll open up the room for additional testimony. We may need to limit that time to 3 minutes if we're running short, and that'll be an opportunity for folks to respond to testimony they've heard or ask questions of other people that were testifying in case they want clarity on other testimony. With all that out of the way, we're going to get started just as soon as I get back from the registration table with the sheet over there to see if anybody signed up. Okay, we have some potential contingent testimony, and so I'm going to open it up actually first to the virtual room here, and going to ask, I think, Melissa, do we have anyone that wants to testify right now?
Not that I know of that anyone has signed up.
Okay. So right now, we don't have anybody signed up that they definitely want to testify. We're going to hold the room open here for about 15 minutes or so regardless. Just in case someone shows up and they want to testify, or if you decide that you would like to testify even though you haven't signed up yet, that's perfectly fine as well. Other than that, we're just going to hold the room open until, absent any other notification from anyone, we'll be holding the room open until at least 9:55 here for testimony. Thank you. Okay, I see your hand, David Heslam. It blended into the icon there a little bit, but go ahead.
Great. Thank you. I guess I had one comment and one question, and I emailed the one comment, and that was about I'm speaking. Can you not hear me? Oh,
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, David.
Sounds like everybody can hear you, David.
Maybe he can't hear us. David, can you hear me?
okay. I'll start again.
There we go.
So one comment and one question. And the comment is
David, sometimes if you're watching the stream as well, there is a lag. Because you'll hear yourself a minute later.
all right, I'll just stop watching myself so that I don't get so confused by the lag. Okay, so I have okay, so I have one comment and one question. The comment is that it appears in the document that when it refers to CR 1301.3 application, that it reads CR 1301.3.1 and CR 1301.3.2. But I think that should actually read CR 1301.21 and CR 1301.2.2. So that was my comment. And then my question is in regard to the size of building that the Massachusetts type 10% modeled savings refers to. And I have to admit, I'm not completely familiar with how the commercial reach code works for Massachusetts. And I don't know if they're using the same size of building threshold for modeling requirements, or for buildings that fall under that size, do they have other requirements, such as a requirement that a more efficient piece of equipment be picked from an options list? I wonder if there could be any other clarity provided about how the Massachusetts stretch code works for smaller commercial buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Mark Heizer with Division. Thank you, David. And we can see about bringing, can we bring up on screen the Massachusetts stretch code file? Under their code, all other buildings are required to comply with just the baseline energy efficiency measures in their code. So just standard energy code for the state. They reference Chapter 13 of their building code or Chapter 11 of their residential code will be applicable based on use and occupancy of the building. It's in AA 3.3 other buildings. So you'll scroll up just a little bit more, Melissa, or back down the page. There we go. Closer to the top to show that is the current adopted Massachusetts stretch code that is available up on the screen. I believe we can make sure we have an additional copy on our site. The modifications really are to align with, allow for the use of both Chapter 11 energy cost budget method and the Appendix G for Oregon, since Massachusetts uses a modified IECC. Since our baseline is the use of 90.1, we're allowing both performance methods to get to that 10% better limit. And when it comes to data centers, since we require data centers to be under 90.4, we're making sure that it does apply 10% improvement using 90.4 as well. So does that help, Mr. Heslam?
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I was just wanting to understand in Massachusetts what their requirements, if they had any requirements that were trying to get the buildings that were under 100,000 square feet to higher levels of energy performance.
They do. For the record, Mark Heizer, again, they don't have anything for those smaller structures. I think they based it on the cost of, not knowing all of their adoption process was due to, they also provide statewide incentives for people using their stretch code, is my understanding, and that probably was related to the cost of doing an energy model and cost effectiveness on that. That would be my guess, but that's what they're doing for their current code cycle, for their stretch code.
All right, thanks for providing clarity. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Hi, this is Kevin Duell with Northwest Natural.
Hey, Kevin, do you have a comment you'd like to make?
Yeah, just a quick question. Have there been any other proposals that would modify the current draft of the REACH code?
Kevin, Mark Heizer for the division. There have been no additional comments or proposed requests to modify the current version. And today was to ask if there were any additional comments or to receive testimony of anyone requesting any additional changes to the current draft. So none were received.
No, well, I guess either it's just so excellent in its current form, or not that concerned. I don't know. But yeah, I also wanted to make the comment. I really appreciate the structure. It seems very understandable and simple and direct, and the fact that it fits on one page is remarkable. So well done. And it seems like it's solidly constructed with references to 90.1 and all that, and that's off.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, I got 9:56 on my end. I really want to provide any opportunity. Like, if anybody has like something they want to speak up now, I don't want to cut people off, but I also don't want to just sort of hang out with folks virtually for the next hour and a half. Not that I don't enjoy, hanging out with you all virtually, but. So if there is anyone else that would like to make a comment on the commercial reach code at this point, please mention so in the chat and go ahead and raise a hand. Or any additional comments. Even if you've already commented, feel free to come back around for another swing. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody, but I'm going to give a little brief overview of the immediate next steps here. And if you think of something while I'm talking, feel free to again shoot that hand up or drop something into the chat, and we can still grab those comments. The opportunity has not quite yet passed until we actually close the meeting. The next step here is the proposal is going to take into account the comments as that we received, such as they were, and they'll be presenting a proposal to the Construction Industry Energy Board at its June 21st meeting. There will be an additional opportunity for public comment to the board at that time prior to the board discussing and voting on the proposal. And at that point, after that public comment, the board will, unless something comes up that would cause a delay, the board will be voting on approving the commercial reach code. And at that point, the division will then adopt the proposed code as the commercial reach code going forward. And that meeting is on June 21st. It'll be a hybrid meeting like this one in this very room. So you'll be able to either come here and testify or testify online if you would like. We welcome any additional comments that you have at that time. But unless there is another hand or another person dropped in the comments and nobody is over on the side of the room with the computer screaming at me that someone is there. So I am going to go ahead and close this commercial reach code public meeting. Thanks everyone for showing up, and thank you for those that provided comment. We really appreciate it.